Alright, so today we're going to have a go at the front brakes. Sometimes these get a bit spongy, especially when the bike's been sitting for a while, like a month. So I got 3 bikes, I ride them every 2 weeks, so I can sit for a month and do nothing. Brakes get spongy, and you can tell because how far you pull it back to the bar. It's 2 1/8. Okay, before there's appreciable resistance, that's like 1 1/8. If I keep pumping it, there's 1 1/4, 1 3/8, and it seems to be settling about there before it produces some resistance and will actually start braking. You've got all that free travel. So there's that distance. We're going to see if we can get rid of that today without bleeding the brakes, just by pushing the pistons back and pushing the fluid back all the way up into the main reservoir. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is just turn the bars all the way to the right while you're up on the center stand. And this actually helps the main reservoir be level, and you want to have it nice and level if you want to get in there and check the fluid level, which we might do today, but generally you don't even have to take this cover off with this method. Thank you for that nice diesel truck parking there. Alright, so here's the caliper. This is the right caliper. I'm going to pop this off. Let's pop these screws and then just run them out. One, two. You know, if you're changing your brakes or want to look at your brakes, this is pretty easy to do too. The torque isn't that high. One thing you can do, as soon as you get these off, one of the things you can do right now is you can twist this against the disc, which is strong enough to handle it, and you can push the pads back on it like that. So I'm going to do that right now. Twist. And the idea is I'm pushing these pads away from each other. Well, they're getting kind of thin. I might have to think about putting new pads on soon. One of the other ways you can do it, and I've got this little tool here, vice grip, tire lever, stick those in between and twist it. So I'm going to give it a twist. It's kind of hard to do. That pushes the pads apart, pushes the pistons back in the cylinder and shoves the fluid and any air. See, this is at the top. You want to try and keep this at the top while you're doing this, in case there's air in there. Get it out. And then just put them back on. Now we're going to pump the pads back. So we put a lot of fluid back into the reservoir when we push that up. So I've got to pump the brake. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're getting some resistance now. Okay, I need to measure that, don't I? See if we've done anything so far. There's 1 more to go. Okay, so the guy across the road is trimming hedges. Lovely. So I'm going to see if this has made any difference. There's 1 3/8. About 1 1/2. So it's a little better already. So I'm going to go and do the other disc, and then we'll see if there's any improvement with both discs and the pads pumped back and then pushed out again. Right, so the guy across the road is leaf blowing now. Yay! You'd love the sound of leaf blowers in the morning. I've done the other side. Let's see if there's any difference. It's about there. It's coming in at 1 1/2. If I leave it alone, it will come back to about 1 3/8. So if I leave it like this for a little bit, it'll be 1 3/8. But it's about 1 1/2 before it's going to go. And that started with, was that 1 1/8 I started with? So I've got some of the fluid back down there. Alright, we've got dueling leaf blowers now. Yay! Okay, so I'm moving around to the rear caliper now. It's different. The caliper is actually fixed to this holder plate, so I'm going to take these 12 screws out, 12mm screws out. Do not take these out. These two hold the two halves together. There's a piston this side, there's a piston the other side. Look, bleed valve on the other side. So the caliper on this is fixed. It doesn't slide on pins like the front. So this one is actually fixed, and you have to have a piston each side to be able to squeeze the disc. So this one's a little trickier. I'm going to go the full hog and take it off. I'm going to take the brake stay out, and I'm going to take these two out so I can get the caliper off. The brake stay has a split pin castellated nut. I've never put the split pin back in because that castellated nut is not coming off. It's a bit of a pain to get off, so we'll see if I can do it. Probably jam my hand or something. There we go. Yeah, it's spinning on the inside. Yeah, it's spinning on the inside. It's a 14mm open-ender. This is why you don't need it, because you can't get that off. It's nicely deformed and it jams in the holes. I think it'll spin off now. Yeah, there we go. Check that out. I'll do the two 12s. Hang on, how did that change? There we go. Must be when I hit the pipe. Okay, I'm going to take those out. Okay, so the screws are out. I'm going to lift this bar. This is the anti-rotation bar, stops it going around. Pull this up. And once I get it clear, like that, then I can do that twisting thing again. And actually, you can, if you pull this plastic cover off, you've got to flip this up on the inside. You can see where the pads are, and this gives you a nice clue as to how much material you've got left on the pads. I've got to get it clear of the stay. And I'm going to give it a good twist. Nice fast twist. There we go. You know, it's a bit more than half worn. Can't really see it on that, but they are a bit more than half worn. So I gave them a good push. That shoved both pistons back, so it fits over the disc easily. I mean, it just drops right over. If I can find the disc, of course. Come on. I've taken the anti-rattle springs out years ago because they were making the pads wear funny. So I think if you have a stock one, you'll see anti-rattle spring up here, which made it tapered. They tapered the pads and they wore out very quickly because it held the pads against the disc. These, when you take the spring out, you may hear some rattling and funny noises, but the pads last a lot longer. Anyway, so we're back on, roughly in position. Now I'm going to pump the foot pedal. So obviously it's going to go all the way down to start with. As we pump the pads back. But hopefully any air that was in there got pushed back along the lines into the reservoir, through the master cylinder into the reservoir, and is dispersed. Feels a bit spongy. I think I'm going to do that one more time. Right, so here we go. So it's a little tight again now, but we slide that up. Alright, and once you get it high enough, you can give it a good twist. And the faster you can do it, the better. Missed. There we go. And it didn't really move it a lot. I'm gonna... Can I get this in there? Is it going to twist? That might twist. So this is the tire lever setup I had before. I'm going to stick in there. I'm just going to give that a nice twist. I think I've got it all the way back. Definitely not moving. So put it back on and pump it out again. Okay, so after that second go, it does feel a little better now. So I don't know what causes these things to happen. Let's get this back on. I have a feeling, and this is just pure guess, that the seals on the pistons kind of stick. They get some heat on them and they stick, and they, as the pads wear down, they're not moving as much. So I got a sneaky feeling that a lot of the slack in the system is caused by that. It may not be air entering the system, or it could very well be air entering the system. You never know. Could be the metallic joints are rusting or something and generating a gas. Who knows what's going on in there. Okay, just tweak. Yeah, torque wrench. We need to. I'm going to stick these back in, but this helps get rid of the air or the sponginess in the brakes if there's no air in there. There may not be air. You could bleed here and never get anything, but this kind of helps. Right, so there it is. Pretty much all done. Got all the... I'm doing a once-over check, which is always worth doing, especially when you're getting old and forgetful like me. Yes, I did torque all the bolts up, both sides. Back on. Yeah, I did torque those up by hand. I did them by hand at both ends. So everything I took off, I did. I did not change this. I'd love to be able to check the fluid level in here, but as you can see, it's so dark now. Can't do it. So to check the level, I would have to take the cap off, and I can't be bothered. I know it's good. That's it. It's ready to go. It's actually going to go back in storage because it's time for change. Week. I'll get the FC out. Yeah, that'll be fun for 2 weeks. Wheeling everywhere.